I wanted to say that meditating the bad state after tons of loads of shit from society and also a few people lately felt like a very bad state, including her face this time again, especially the eyes looking bad and closed. The swelling, typical symptom. And I just wanted to say after some talk, short beginning of meditation, I see the dark force wants to kick the heart out of the body. And just have to sit down and 10 seconds start meditating and I feel it already. That's also what we had in the, I think even the video that he published. Not sure if I said it there or another one. But this is so relevant. If people would understand this, and instead of going to the duality and fighting the dark force, and it's good to survive, only we get stronger when we see what's happening. The dark force kicks you out. Then you can fight back also on body energetic level, instead of only in, let's say, on society level. Because on the earth, the dark force will always be stronger. So the only way that you can really have an opposing force that makes a difference, that's consciousness. That's why it has to be seen and exposed. It's not that people don't do that, at least exposing, but this is so relevant. Consciousness has to shine its light on the dark, on the ego. And that's possible, as I just said, to see in your body what happens when you get in touch with the dark force. It kicks you out of the body. And the more you are settled here on earth, the more you have gone through the pain, like I have done, or allowed, then you can feel much easier and sooner that you are getting kicked out of the body if you are in touch with the dark force. And, relevant here, you automatically, almost, just by nature, start fighting back to not be kicked out of the body, but to stay. That's a self-reinforcing process, self-sustaining. You get more and more sensitive to this dark force that wants to kick you out. It wants to easily take over control again, which it almost always manages, until consciousness appears in the scene and it sees what the dark force is doing also on bodily energetic level, not only in society, making us afraid. So what we do is to regain or take back our power by seeing what it does to our body. It starts with a heart effect, but it has consequences for the whole body. And thus we can really fight back on the level that we have, I'm not sure if you should use the word control over, but in this case, let's use it. Even in prison you can fight back, in that sense.
I just feel like lying down in bed.
The problem is if your friend keeps looking at all this shit what happens nowadays. In the best case, indeed, he chooses the good side, the human side. Of course, he's unable to do what someone like me does, to not get killed. So it gets more and more dark, grey, deadened from all this shit. But it is a dark force that you associate with, that you attune to. If you see on the internet what happens, and you must know how to deal with this. And if not, then it means that these people who are incapable of dealing with it, they transmit it to other people. Maybe even in unconscious hope that the other person can do something with it. sometimes see this if things get too bad in someone and he or she suddenly calls someone without knowing why. But in the dark it is to get rid of the dark that they associate with, and it gets too much, too suffocating. So we must see this tragedy of the dark force to weaken people, that you just want to lie down and sleep. This stands, of course, on a deeper level for death. That you cannot fight anymore back, and you just want to go to sleep and leave me alone, and I go and just see what you do further. I'm out. That's what they want.
Just some kind of survival mode. No.
Chee! Chee! So where was I? Not being kicked out of the body, or at least see that this happens due to the power of the dark force, and therefore being able of fighting back, because you notice it. The dark force inherently operates in the dark. If it is seen, it loses its power, and this is very relevant to see. If it's not seen and you fight it, it will still win. So you fight the consequences instead of the dark force straight itself, directly. Through consciousness. Because every act you do in response to the dark force is for the dark force an impulse to react again, and is just stronger here on earth than the force of light, which is much more subtle. Only it cannot stand consciousness. So it doesn't want to be seen. All the things that the governments do nowadays, and the big corporations, it's all, let's say, in the shade is the word, in the shadow, and it's not totally open. It's also not totally in the dark, also because it's more and more seen, but it's all a bit in the middle, in the unclear middle, what they're doing. Nobody really knows. I mean, there are plans that leak out, or more and more they openly say what the plans are, but still they hide. They do it under cover of something good they do for humanity, which is totally not true, of course, if you see through the lies. It's very difficult to hold it, to stop it. It always hides again. As soon as you say this is not true, or this is nasty what you're doing, inhuman, it immediately takes the next step, almost like a robot. I mean, in a way there are no persons doing this. It is the dark force itself that's in the course of the centuries, if not millennia, more and more trained in how to fool people, to get or stay in power, to get more money. Only when they're fully seen, and especially when the substantial, if not the biggest, the greatest, the majority of the people see through the lie, then you see they suddenly crumble down. Like Epstein suddenly killed himself. There are more of these examples. Hitler. They see no way out anymore. They went so much into the dark, and they could prolong it so long because they were not really seen. Then they suddenly lose the battle because they are seen and fought. And then they crumble down. In this case, they commit suicide. But as I said, fighting in itself is not enough. It gives them even more power, more force to fight in return, with even more sophisticated means. Mean means. Yeah. This dark force is trying to kill the male force in us. It weakens us, so we don't have the force anymore to. The force of consciousness on earth, on the earthly level, to expose it, to fight. Or even have the energy left to feel things, but rather, after being weakened, we just go to sleep or have the tendency to say, leave me alone. It's very difficult enough. This dark force has some weak points, and if you touch them, it gets very upset or angry. It might even kill you. It feels threatened in its power, in its normal state of ruling here on earth. That's why a country like Nicaragua is a pain in the ass for a big bully as the United States of America. Just its mere existence, that it tries to do something good for people, instead of choosing automatically for the oligarchy. Some light reflecting in the darkness of heart of the rulers. There's a constant pain there. They want to get rid of this pain. They project it outside on this country or that group, or sometimes even individuals. It's their own pain that they don't want to address because it's so much. Once they start, the whole cesspit opens. Intuitively they assume it's too much to handle. They would rather die than start feeling their pain. So they keep on beating like a madman around them, doing harm here and doing harm there, not caring at all about the consequences for people. It's all self-protection. Self-protection of their pain. Without consideration of all the pain that others have to suffer if they don't take responsibility for their own pain. And this tragedy on earth goes on and on and on. And now it's sort of erupted, the whole thing. You would almost be suspicious that something good is happening, that they have to use such a huge manipulation, such a huge censorship, such a force, police, just name it, to still go on with their imbalanced life, their secret plans, their money obsession, power obsession. And while they're beating around, they're at the same time more and more exposed in what they're doing. At least for the ones who have at least some eye opened. Or it can open in such circumstances as currently. So coming back to how I started, we must see, feel in our body what the dark force does to us, instead of only reacting on an outer level. Which doesn't mean we shouldn't become angry. You can totally be present in the moment, in what's really going on, while being angry or have other emotions. In fact, if you dissociate totally from emotions, you cannot be truly here on earth. And I would really like to encourage people to, as we did here also, fully, wholeheartedly, whole-bodily go into the emotional realm of life to get full clarity there. So you have the possibility to stay present in whatever is done to you by the dark force. You don't have to flip out or only go in opposition. Well, on the earthly level you're gone already in a way, even while you're maybe still fighting. The emotional realm is very relevant, crucial to be able to stay here and see what's going on, how we are attacked by the dark force, operating through people, having enslaved these people, as their pawns. So in that sense we fight in return on consciousness level, certainly also, if not in the first place, through our body, through our body awareness of what's going on, what pain is inflicted upon us, instead of merely being against what is going on. We add the feeling level to this. We stay attuned to that. The dark force doesn't like feeling. It can only use people for its goals if it erases feeling. Then again, it's not for nothing that it's so easy for the dark force to manipulate people to go away from feeling to a great extent, simply because it's so painful to stay present on the feeling level, and yet at the same time being in touch with what's really going on with the dark force spreading its poison. Like a scorpion. And now this poison of the scorpion. And you better be gradually acquainted with it. So you know what's going on. You can recognize it. You're not kicked out of the body by a next portion of poison. Know what's going on here on earth, and you're much more. You much better know how to fight in return. If you don't know your enemy, how can you fight properly? There have been and still are many people who don't like to fight, which is very understandable. Only we won't make it that way, because the fight is already going on. It would just mean, if you stop fighting, that you go away from the earthly realm into places that are indeed much easier, much more peaceful. But then you cannot be here. And sooner or later your body will be erased by the dark force, because you didn't learn how to fight back by going away from this earthly realm. Sometimes you can see, when you watch videos and you see this fight unraveling taking place. You can see some moments where politicians are triggered. They suddenly get angry. Some force comes through. This is the dark force that is triggered at the right moment, the right place, with the right words, the right force behind it. Usually it hides with all kinds of mind talk, just to keep you busy. They don't really go into the matter. But sometimes I can see, now you got him. This is good what you're doing. And then it tries to overpower you. Not with sense, just with the force itself. Suddenly the energy manifests more of this dark force. I have an example of this in mind in the Dutch Parliament, what happened with the health minister. Usually these guys, the Prime Minister, Health Minister, they get away with everything. But now surely the Health Minister was triggered by some question of almost the only member of Parliament that asked good questions. Also with some energy behind it. And then suddenly this dark force flipped out. He couldn't hold it anymore. He said, but the virus is very dangerous. He went back to some kind of primal force to suppose he'll convince someone, but it's just this force itself that manifests. You cannot do it with all kinds of lie arguments. And suddenly this force itself comes through. Okay, then we do it this way if you don't want to listen to me. You still hold on to your truth. Then I overpower you with that dark force. And usually that's enough for people. They get scared. Even without knowing. People intuitively respond to this dark force manifesting that by acknowledging unconsciously that yes, this is what happens if I speak out the truth. This dark force will finally manifest, and then it's suddenly much more dangerous than before, when it was just manipulating you. And also this pattern should be recognized. In fact, it's not true that it gets much more dangerous. It was already this dangerous. Although it is true that they can at a certain point and will use also physical force if they cannot win the fight otherwise. That's why people have to unite. One of the reasons why people should unite. And surely be or make friends with the police and the military, who are normal beings like us. But being used in a, as you know, totally malicious way by the rich to implement their goals, to back up what they want with, if necessary, physical power. And sometimes they do it already. So it's very relevant we work with consciousness through the police and the military to make them aware that they're like us and not like the super rich who want to control the whole earth, the people, including them. Once they see this, that they're being misused for some dirty tricks, dirty goals, and the number grows, then the whole thing changes. The balance. There are some people on earth who are very suitable for this process of bringing some consciousness while being attacked at the same time by the dark force. They manage better than many others to stay present, even though it's not said that the attacks don't hurt. They do, but still they can easier manage to go on with the work. These people are very relevant in the whole opposition, the resistance to the plans of the dark force. And if necessary, we should protect these people. It is necessary to stand all behind them, consciously with our heart, but also even physically. Fighting the dark force. Part of my job is to absorb again and again, allow this dark force via women, especially. It can also happen via a child. And principally via men who is associated with the dark force, who at the same time has some faithfulness to the heart. And of course, my body gets weakened from the dark force. We cannot prevent that. Only what I do is to see that this dark force kicks us out of the body, pushes us out. And by seeing this, you automatically, inherently start to undo the process of being kicked out, pushed out, and a struggle starts of staying in. This dark force and the light force start to fight in your own body. And that's what I'm doing all the time. Well, it's easier, of course, if you sit down to meditate. If I work on my music, then I also focus on that. But even then, often I feel this fight through my body. Sometimes so badly that I cannot work anymore. In fact, or my machine crashes. I cannot stand this fight. And by this process of again and again being kicked out and not allowing this to totally happen, also might even die, but fighting a return and staying here as the heart in this earthly realm, I radiate this light of the heart into the earthly realm, reinforcing the force in people to stand up and fight in whatever way they are capable of. Yeah. You need sensitive bodies for this transcending work. Who are at the same time not afraid of the dark force and have the capacity to fight in return, and who feel what's going on, who are conscious of it. So when you receive the big blow of this dark force, even by just looking on the internet what's going on, informing yourself, this can already be such a big blow. If you only feel what's going on, what it does to your body, instead of going only into fear or worry or anger, which is not wrong anyway, but if you feel what this unconscious dark force does to you, to your whole system, to your body, how it wants to go to sleep, for example, that's one of the reactions, normal responses to the dark force operating. Or you feel confused, or you start to doubt what is true or what not, even though you know, your heart knows what is true. It starts to doubt because of this dark force getting into you with its knife, its poison. Where you start to become aggressive, only aggressive in return. You're so angry you want to kill the attackers in return, which is a natural response. Only usually people forget then to feel their body, what's actually going on, and they easily lose themselves in this fight. So don't misunderstand me, you need this power to fight in return. But at the same time, you should not forget to stay in touch with your feelings. If this aggression is there, then it becomes also more difficult to fight accurately, to fight precisely, to know what's going on. If it's overwhelmed by this aggression in return. One sign you can feel this kicking out force is active if something happens to your eyes. The eyes, as you may know, the physical eyes are also associated with the sixth chakra of consciousness, which is the physical form of it. If you start to feel things, strange things happening there, then you can almost be sure there's a fight going on between unconsciousness and consciousness. And that's not wrong at all. It's in fact very good if you become aware of this. If you feel in the daytime you want to go to sleep without good reason, then you can be relatively sure. You must always check and feel and see, but sure that the dark force is trying to make you go to sleep. Because how can you fight in return? How can you see the dark force if you're asleep? Then it is easy play with you. Now the thing is not to try to not be sleepy. You won't manage that, but to see it, which is very difficult. It's almost a paradox. You see with consciousness the unconsciousness. Even when you cannot, you get so sleepy or whatever form it takes, confused, that it's difficult to even sit straight, erect. And you feel like lying down, for example. even then there's still how do you call it, a string left with consciousness that sees it all happening, and just stay with that string. Don't lose that. You don't have to lose that. You can be faithful to this truth that you feel like lying down, being sleepy. But that's something else than giving up. No, just leave me alone. I don't want all this anymore. It's too difficult, too complicated. It's not for me. I don't manage all this stuff. The consciousness is still there. You are still there. But it's true, the dark force is strong, and you have to accept it. You have to acknowledge it, even bow for it, not for the truth of it, because it is not true, but you bow for its force. You say, yes, I know you are strong. The only problem for you is that I'm stronger in the end, because I see you. And I fight in return with love. And you hate this. You hate this love. You don't understand this love. This love that you are as a darkie after in the end. You do so much your best and you cannot get it. You do exactly the opposite of how you should approach, get closer to love. In your ignorance or despair or hurt, confusion. And the dark force to not be seen. It tries to not only weaken but sometimes even kill the people who seem to be after it and wants to expose it. This is no solution for the dark force, because you cannot kill consciousness. You can kill bodies. You know what happens after a body dies? The consciousness goes in other bodies. I've experienced that happening. So one body dies, but you cannot kill the consciousness. It's fighting against windmills. Darkie, do you hear me? You're all the time trying to confuse people with lies, so they believe you. But the consciousness sees it all happening. Every fucking step you make. You hear me? It's all fucking seen. And it's only a fucking matter of time that it will get you. You think you're unpunishable with all your dark, fucked up acts? You're hiding, escaping, torturing. But it's all seen. You're so afraid that you'll be caught, that you beat around wildly. Bully people, so they won't get you in the end. It's all in vain. Even if you would make it until you die. just once have the guts to look me in the eye, because I am here. Do you hear me? But you're too afraid of that. You operate always in the dark. You never look me in the eye. And you know what will happen then? So you seem to want to try to kill bodies, but what you really do is kill the eye here on earth. Because you're so afraid that they will see you, see what you do in the dark. This should not be revealed. Then you're done. All the supposed good deeds you do will appear to be exactly the opposite. And you know this. And you still go on. Not forever. Because I know you. I see you. Allowing this dark force without being afraid of it gives such an earthly force, power. And it can be used by the heart to overpower you. You will be paid in return by your own means, your own darkness. Only done differently. Then with compassion and out of love. Without wanting revenge, but out of the necessity to restore the balance, to restore humanness. So you are postponing the revelation of your loss, of your misery, of your pain. Postponing to feel your deep pain. So you think it's too much to handle. So you project the pain on others. Torture them, bully them, lock them up, confuse them, kill them. Do not feel your pain. And you sustain the pain. And by not feeling this pain finally, you in fact make it worse. Because life is a process. It's not that you can put it on hold. The more you postpone, the worse you make it. Who you are. I see you. You are no one. There's no one there. There's this illusion that manifests in form. And this illusion you like to spread all over the world. To believe that up is down, down up, left right, right left, in out, out in. Deep, shallow, shallow, deep. You turn everything upside down. You'd like as many people as possible who believe this. That gives you joy to see that you seem to succeed. I saw you laughing. There are videos where you laugh. This is the dark force laughing about its success that it sees manifested in the world. But you cannot be successful in being loved. That's a sacrifice you make. The best you can achieve is that they believe your lies. But it doesn't give real satisfaction, does it? It makes you laugh, and that's it. Because you're empty. There's no one. There's no presence. That's just a dark force operating through you. It was so strong you couldn't say no. It overwhelmed the force of the light. And you let it happen. You didn't stand up. You didn't fight in return. You went for easy satisfaction and forgot the depth of life. That is further and further away the more you submit to this dark force. And now it's so difficult to come back. You invested so much in being right while you knew all the time that you are untruthful, heartless, senseless, hard. It's so difficult to return. You get so much pain. If one thing is exposed and you allow that to happen, and the cesspit opens, then there's so much pain at the same time being revealed that it seems too much to bear. So you continue the same procedure that seemed to be successful but left you behind empty. It brought you to the top. The strategy, the darkness, dark force. The top of illusion, the top of emptiness. and you look out over what you reached, what you achieved, from the mountain, you see nothing. It was all for nothing. You didn't achieve anything substantial. You didn't realize yourself, or what I call your no self, something substantial beyond the self. Because if you would have gone in that direction, you couldn't have done what you did. And yet, after all you did, after all your stealing, your torturing, taking people's money away, weakening people, not caring at all for people who live somewhere else, who are poor, killing people, killing your environment. After all this, strange or not, it's not too late. If you would just stop, hold, and start reflecting, start feeling. Any moment you stop the show, immediately the first tendency, urge to feel comes back. That's for everybody the same. If you stop running, feeling comes, even though in the beginning you won't recognize it as such. But first you always start feeling that you don't feel, because you've gone so far away. But if you keep insisting, keep going, stopping, keep stopping, funny as it sounds, then gradually feeling comes back. You become human again. Without feeling, there's no humanness. No matter how hard, how loud you shout that this is good or that is good for humanity, it's all empty if you don't feel at the same time. And if you truly feel, then you cannot do wrong. Feeling as being human. If you feel you cannot hurt, harm other people in unconsciousness, because you are there, you are present, you feel also what they feel when you do something, certain thing. But you just cannot anymore, you cannot do it. It just stops. It's never too late to become human. To return to humanness. To let yourself be loved. For the courage, if only for the courage to stop hurting. And to become responsible for your own hurt, for your own pain. That's not your fault anyway, but it's there. To be an example for the world, that it can be, that you can stop. And become part of humanity, of a community. feeling that we're all together here, that we are in the end even one, instead of a separate being, entity that seems to want the best for itself. Becoming aware of all this would make you cry for days on end. All this stored pain that wants to release. And during crying, you will get many insights. Crying gives insight into life. This is a whole radically different approach of becoming intelligent or wise, allowing tears created in the struggle of light and dark, of up and down, heaven and earth, black and white. Allowing these tears makes you see, feel deeper and deeper into the realm, what happens here truly. It makes you so compassionate for a fellow human being, for animals, for all the nature around you. That you wonder, where was I? What have I done? How is it possible that you can get so far away of what it is to be human? The tragedy unravels itself. You don't know anymore if you cry or laugh. If it's pain or bliss. In the end, as happened to me, this pain and bliss, it's in their radicalness, they explode and celebrate their oneness, their unity. You cannot hurt anymore. As soon as this pain shows up again, there's joy at the same time. And the other way around. You see the beauty of it all. The beauty of things not being separate as you assumed before, when you were in the illusion of separation. Separate from other beings, even from yourself, from your feelings, from nature, from the cosmos. As a tiny particle trying to find its way in the dark, cutting around wildly and randomly almost, on its way to what it supposedly wants, but what is illusion. The return, the great return, not the great reset, the great return to ourselves, to humanness, humanity. The great reset is again such a lie on top of other lies. we all should finally be fed up and see through this tendency to turn everything upside down in people's own interest. It's all inhuman. They don't speak from a human place. And you can see that when you find your own human place. Then everything is so obvious. The Great Reset, reset, when we lost our heart or our faithfulness to it. We do a reset, we start being faithful again to our heart. Not to plans of people who want to control other people, supposedly in the good, for the good of everybody. We stop the show. We stop anything. We just stop. And we take a long moment, turn within, and find this indestructible place that it cannot kill. We make it bigger, stronger, and radiate it outside. And finally we can relax. Because only in the heart we can relax. And that's it. There's no other place to go. The rest is all illusion. It's a long, long way in the wild, in the dark, to find again home, the heart. Samyam. Be home. Be well. Be human. Be heart. Sayam, the heart.